Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck profile. Today we'll be looking at Charizard VMAX, the newest form of everyone's favorite starter evolution, Charizard. Coming fresh from Darkness Ablaze, this Pokemon can hit a whooping 300 base damage with VMAX Wildfire. Comboed with all the fire tools that we've gotten in previous expansions, Charizard will be a deck to consider into the new expansion, but it will need some help. And before we get started, check out Pokemon from Scratch, a sealed only challenge if you haven't already. Episode 2 will be releasing soon, so stay tuned for that. Now let's get into the deck profile. So just looking at a quick overall preview of the deck list, you can probably notice the unique line we are playing in the list, and that is the 2/2 Volcarona GX line, and also the fact that we're playing Vitality bands with it. Maybe you're wondering why we're playing Oranguru. Now before you get all feisty about the inclusions of these cards, I will tell you that these cards together helps cover some of Charizard VMAX's glaring weaknesses and gives it a fighting chance against some of the higher tier decks. Now let's get into the in-depth coverage of the deck. So starting off, we have the big boy himself, Charizard VMAX. We'll be running a 3-3 line simply because we only need to set up 2 VMAXs a game and that we have quite the heavy draw power built into the deck to get into these copies. Now, while we all love Charizard for all he's worth, quite frankly, he has some terrible drawbacks that's keeping him from being a tier 1 deck. So let's look into the cons of Charizard, and first off is his energy requirement. Requiring 3 fires and 2 colorless makes it very difficult to manage because it makes it impossible for us to charge up Charizard in one turn, since weldering 2 fire energies and attaching a triple acceleration energy is the best the deck can do in one turn. But if we did have the 1 fire energy already attached, we still have to find 2 fire energies, a copy of welder, and triple acceleration to attach to Charizard VMAX, and that's a lot to ask for consistently. The energy discard from his attack can be annoying, but thankfully we can cover it by discarding triple acceleration energy. However, it can be more detrimental if the game drags on too long. Next is his damage output. While 300 sounds like a lot, and it is, don't get me wrong, but it's really an awkward number. It overkills GXs and basic Vs, but it's just short of knocking out any VMAXs. But these cons aren't the end of the world because this list was built to fix the issues that Charizard has. So let's look into the first unique inclusion of the list. So we're running a 2/2 Volcarona GX line, and this card plays a huge role in the deck. This card is key when we're going against any VMAX decks because it helps us deal enough damage to allow Charizard VMAX to one-shot the opposing VMAX. Most VMAX Pokemon in this new meta will range from 320 HP, 330 HP, or 340 HP. With 1 Flaming Shot ability, we can now have the ability to one-shot any VMAXs with 320 HP and below. And if we can get 2 off, we can OHKO any VMAXs in the format. So if we have Volcarona GX, why would we run 2 copies of Vitality Band? Well, realistically, we'll set up only 1 copy of Volcarona a game, so on the turn that we evolve, we can Flaming Shot for 20 and attack with a Vitality Band to hit 330 damage, which covers the majority of the VMAXs in this metagame, and won't require 2 turns of Flaming Shots to knock out that VMAX. Volcarona also forces your opponent to make difficult decisions when attacking, because they either attack Charizard or they target down the Volcarona. Regardless of which one they choose, we get value out of it. For example, right off the bat when playing Volcarona, we get instant value from it for being able to deal 20 damage immediately. And so the longer it stays on the field, the more value we get. So if they choose to target down Charizard, we get this accumulating value. But if they target down Volcarona, it's okay because first of all, they're not hitting Charizard, and therefore setting themselves back from 2-shotting it, which means we don't have to rush and struggle with the awkward energy attachments of setting up another copy of Charizard VMAX. So if you look at it that way, Volcarona essentially helps cover 2 weaknesses that Charizard has. Next, we'll look into the main energy accelerator of the deck, Volcanion. He is our ideal attacker if we were to go second, since we can set up our Charizards for the rest of the game with Flare Starter. By attaching a fire energy to Volcanion, weldering 2 fire energies to a Charizard V, then Flare Startering, we can get 6 fire energies onto the field. Of course, we don't mind going first as well since we are an evolution deck, so running 2 copies is sufficient since our deck doesn't mind going first or second. And to help guarantee we get our Volcanion to the active position, we also will be maxing out 4 copies of switches for that purpose. But of course, switches will be useful throughout the game as well, and not just the early game. Next is our 1 copy of Oranguru. He's here to help us preserve cards that we don't want to discard through the likes of Professor's Research and the Dedenne GX. More often than not, the main card we want to preserve are our copies of Boss's Order and Triple Acceleration Energy because they are useful throughout the game. In addition, he's also very useful in helping us not break from opponents' Marnies, since we can throw in Professor's Research on the top of the deck if we suspect one coming up. Next are the supporting Pokemons of the deck. We're running 2 copies of the Dedenne GX, 1 copy of Crobat V, and 1 copy of Eldegoss V. The Dedenne and Crobat are here to provide heavy draw power whenever needed, and Eldegoss is here as a searchable way into our supporters. Next is our very simple supporter line of 4 Welders, 3 Professor's Research, and 2 Boss's Orders. We're maxing out on Welders because this is our main way of setting up Charizard whenever we need to. 3 Professor's Research are here when we are digging for the triple acceleration energies and will mainly be used after our Charizard VMAXs are already set up with the necessary fire energies. Then we have 2 Boss's Orders for targeted knockouts whenever we need it. We don't need to run 3 copies because we are running Eldegoss, so we can grab a copy from the discard if we ever need it. Onto our items, we have our searching cards of the deck. We'll be running 4 Quick Balls, 4 Pokemon Communications, and 2 Cherish Balls. Quick Balls are used to grab a majority of the cards in our deck and will help us set up in the early game. 4 Pokemon Communications are ran to help make the double evolution line as consistent as possible, since we can put back our stage 1s back in the deck to get our basic Pokemon or vice versa. Then we're running 2 copies of Cherish Balls. This will help keep the early game more consistent by providing another way to get into our Dedenne GX, as well as another way of getting into a Volcarona GX. Then, to help supply energies to our Welders and to our Volcarona, we'll be running 2 Fire Crystals and 2 Giant Harps. Giant Harps is there to help us get into our fire energies early game, and the Fire Crystals are there for us towards the mid to late games once we start running out a few for our cards. Lastly, for the energy counts, we'll be running 4 copies of Triple Acceleration Energy and 10 copies of Fire Energies. Triple Acceleration Energies are important to use for Charizard VMAX's attack, so that we only discard the Triple Acceleration Energy instead of 2 Fire Energies to keep Charizard's energy demand on the low. We're gonna max it out at 4 copies so it won't hurt as much if we need to discard some in the early game. 10 copies of Fire Energies will be ran for the Fire Engine of our deck, and that's all I have to say for that. So that's all for the deck, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean so much to me since this is a new channel that's just starting out. If you have anything you'd like to see in future content, a particular deck you want me to cover, or just general tips of improvement, please let me know. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.